everyone, Catherine here with Real Chicago and Real 360. Today's exciting. We will be interviewing director Jack Newell and producer Angie Gaffney for the film Monuments.
He's been doing the exact same thing for weeks, carrying her ashes everywhere with him like a freaking weirdo.
I've been seeing her. Laura.
She's gone, man.
We've got to do what we need to do to put her to rest and move on.
Dilly!
What?
I want to report a stolen car. Rochambeau.
From the scatter you were, we were the happiest.
Chicago's the answer.
Am I dreaming?
You're not dreaming. Mia's dead.
I guess I'm not really sure what I'm doing.
Sir?
Look! Where's Des Moines?
This way. I'm lost. Or my ashes are anyway, and my whole family wants you arrested.
Rochambeau.
I'm sorry about that too, right now.
I can't do anything with sorry. Action, Ted!
I'm just gonna...
I know you've come a long way. Don't do it.
It was never about tombs or gods or monuments. Happiness for us wasn't complicated.
Welcome, Jack and Angie. So excited. Heard many things about Monuments, but let's hear it from you guys. Give us a little backstory on what is Monuments.
Sure. So Monuments is a film. It's about a guy that is dealing with the unexpected loss of his wife. And it's about him going on this cross-country journey. It's weird that I'm in a car and we're talking about a cross-country journey. It's perfect it's a journey about how to say goodbye. And so all of that sounds like it might be incredibly sad. And we sort of called it a tragic comedy about death. So it's using comedy to try to talk about these things that are sometimes otherwise hard to process. But it's ultimately an uplifting story. And it stars David Sullivan as our main, who is in Primer, for those of you who ever saw that, and a bunch of television. Marguerite Moreau, who's in Mighty Ducks and Wet Hot American Summer, and Javier Munoz, who is in Hamilton, which is a show that was on Broadway, I think, for a year or two. And a bunch of other really amazing local Chicago actors: Dave Pasquazi, Sue Gillen, Keith Kupfer, a bunch of people that when you watch the movie, you'll be like, oh, that guy. Or, oh, that
Murray
guy.
is in it too.
Who?
Yes.
Joel Murray.
Yes, thank you, Joel, as well. So yeah, we got a great cast, and it's a really touching film. So I wrote it and directed it, and Angie produced it and helps develop the script. So Angie, do you want to add on top of anything I said?
I guess I'll just say, I think I told this story the other day at our Q&A, but yeah, Jack, I think we worked on the script for like 2 years. 2 years-ish, give or take, before we started filming it. It all kind of blends together.
Yeah.
But it was certainly like a really incredibly collaborative process, and that's how Jack works, and that's how I work. And to kind of fine tune the tone, so you have, like, as Jack mentioned, these incredibly sad moments with these really heightened, somewhat surreal, emotional sort of explorations that our main character goes through. So it was really cool. Many drafts, kind of going through the process and figuring out what the right balance was. And I think it all came together in production. I know leading up to production, we were still like, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to play out visually, but we had an incredible crew, and they killed it. It came together really well.
Amazing. So how did you guys originally connect? Let's get a little backstory about you two.
We're both like,
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I think I had heard about you because you had been in town, and it was in town, and I think basically one of the things that I've been making films for a couple of years, and is really just self-producing and sort of stumbling my way through it. And I believe Matt Hyland, who ended up being our production designer on this, was really like, dude, you got to get a producer. Like, you got to get someone who can like produce your stuff. And so I was sort of looking for someone to collaborate with in a meaningful way, not just someone who can like do the budget or just like do the schedule. Like not that that's not important, but someone who's like a true collaborator. And so I think I reached out to you, I think, and just like, hey, let's grab a coffee. I think maybe you reached out to me, I don't remember, and said, I'd love to talk about stuff. And you're like, well, let me read what you got. And I sent you, I think, a number of scripts, and this one was the one. You're like, those are all terrible. This one could be okay. Let's work on it for 2 years of just grueling notes. No, I'm kidding. And that's what I remember. That's how we started.
Yeah, it feels like we've known each other for a really long time now that we've gone through this movie process. So the beginning's a little vague, but I do remember there were multiple scripts, and we picked this one. And proud to say we survived it, and we have another one in the works.
Yeah, totally.
When do you guys think that's going to be full development? And are you guys working on the script in the same type of sense as Monuments, where you're kind of going back and forth with it?
Yeah, we're in the process that Jack just called grueling script notes. So we're still in that process, and we've expanded our team a little bit. Jack wrote the last one. We have a writer we're working with on this one and another producing partner. We're still, the script isn't quite there yet. I think we've been working on it for a little over a year and a half or so. But we're in the notes process. So as soon as the script is solid, then we'll begin kind of fundraising and cast attachments and put together a strategy for that. We might have lost Jack on his road
lost
trip.
Jack.
I'm sure he'll be right back.
Now gone. Where is Jack gone?
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. I know everyone's really busy, so I appreciate all the chit chat. Is there anything else you want to plug in about Monuments, cast and the crew?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say from the cast and crew perspective, this one was really special for me because it's a road trip movie that starts in Boulder, Colorado and comes to Chicago. And I grew up in Boulder. So it was actually really cool to bring a film to my hometown and actually physically make the journey that I've made so many times. The cast and crew was just incredible. I mean, it was there's a lot of road stuff. There's a lot of driving. There's a lot of pretty surreal imagery. There's like a puppet sequence. We had random snowstorms in the middle of the shoot. So the shoot itself was like I would say it was probably tough just logistically. But all of the crew was incredible, and our collaborators who led the teams did a phenomenal job and really came through.
Amazing. Just anything else, Jack? We're just kind of leaving a last note, you know.
Yeah, we were talking about the greatness of the crew and cast.
Yeah.
My phone dropped out because, as previously mentioned, I'm in the middle of Ohio. Yeah, I think it was a weird production in a lot of ways. I think to go back to the last time I was connected to the conversation, talk about this new project, I think we're trying to get a script that's a little bit more clearly like on the page, like people can see it a little bit more. Monuments ended up being a little bit more of an art film. Not like that, maybe a negative connotation to it, but like it's very idiosyncratic. So it's got a specific voice to it that I think is refreshing and something I'm interested in exploring in the films that we create in Chicago and the films that I create specifically. But to that end, it's a film that wasn't like plug and play where people just sort of show up, you hit your time card and you leave for the day. You know, it was like, it really required investment on all parts. So like every group of people, you know, your camera department, your lighting department, your production design department, your actors, your production, like everyone really needed to work together because Angie said it was ambitious. You know, the longest we were in any one location was when we moved the entire company to Colorado. I mean, that's the longest time we didn't move around. And even that was only 4 or 5 days. Like a lot of times productions of this size, like they're like, we're cool. We have one location. That's where we're going to be for 20 days or 15 days or 30 days or whatever. We didn't have that luxury. So it really required a lot from everyone. But what we got on the flip side of that was incredible buy-in from like someone who like day played as a grip, who's like, I got to come back to this set because this was so much fun, you know, and like to like the people who were the creative leads on it. So it was a really special experience for me. I think that it was the most, although it was hard, like anything worth doing is hard, like the most creatively satisfying experience I've had yet. So that's really, really fortunate.
Sorry, there's a train going by at the studio
That's okay. There was a guy who used to teach at Columbia. He used to run the Columbia Film Department named Michael Rabiger, and he was a documentary filmmaker. And he would always, his thing was always like, just cut to seagulls. But being that like whenever you're outside shooting and there's just like crazy noise happening, it's just like, if you show the seagull, then like when the seagull's blowing up your soundtrack the whole time, you just like, just cut to the seagulls, you know? It's like cut to the clock, you know, it's, you always have something to cut to that's like, but if you have something that's making a lot of noise, it's just a funny idea. So yeah, cut to the airplanes. Like,
cut to airplanes.
Who knows? I mean, that honestly, I think we did that in Monuments too. I think, if I'm remembering now, we, the cornfield, we ended up being by a very active train line. So it was like, cool, trains are in this movie now. Like, why not? So we went back and like picked up trains driving back and forth so that we could like integrate that. Yeah, I mean, that's just filmmaking, right? I think just trying to make it happen.
Yeah, love that. The creativity, the magic behind it all. So thinking of COVID and whatnot, you know, obviously 2 years surpasses COVID life, you know, pre-exist COVID life. So what are your plans when you shoot this next feature to adjust? I mean, a lot of people are limiting sets, people are doing testings. Are there any big adjustments you guys plan on making from the script into a COVID-friendly set script?
These are really a lot of the COVID stuff, minus the, you know, the clear cut safety measures, but like cast size, location amount, some of these other things that came up out of it. It's like, that's what we all should be doing in independent film anyway. You know, a lot of times you get your hands on a script. It's like, man, the script is great, but like it's impossible to produce because it's just not a movie that you can make for 500 or 300 or 1.2 or whatever, you know? So like a lot of it is actually, the exercise is good. It's like, how do we find ways to tell films, you know, that are more in our sweet spot as independent filmmakers, not like, how do we replicate a Marvel movie or fill in the blank sort of big budget picture. So that I think is actually a helpful exercise. If we ended up coming out of this creating smaller films that were more character focused, that were just better written, like that's good. That would be a great thing that comes out of this. And then also we always want to do it safely. That's like, whenever I talk to younger folks or, you know, younger filmmakers, whatever, anything, it's like the most important thing, like the first day of set, the first person who talks is not the director, it's the AD, and it's the safety rundown. It's like, that's the most important thing always. And we always need to keep that in mind, because in the end, it's just a movie. It's just a movie. Like, we're not solving world hunger here. Like, we're trying to tell a story. We're trying to sing our song. You know, we're trying to maybe give some people some work. We're trying to like make the world a better place, but let's just do it safely. And that's got to be the number one all the time.
Fantastic. Well, I know everyone has to get going and whatnot, but I'd like to thank you first for everything, you guys, chatting with me and telling me your stories and being in the car in Ohio to spend some time with me. So thank you guys for all of that.
I've been driving this entire time while talking. Did I tell you that?
I'm not surprised. Superhuman.
I'm kidding. This was great. This was nice to chat.
This was really good.
Yeah, thank you so much for setting this up, Catherine, and having us. We appreciate it.